Welcome to Buddhaland podcast. I'm Stacy. Today I'm joined by Michael, whose journey moves across physics, finance, and emerging technologies. He completed a PhD in condensed matter physics at Princeton, worked as a strategist at Goldman Sachs and a quantitative trader at UBS. And now he is building in the blockchain space. What interests me most is not only his professional path, but how moving across such different worlds shapes how we understand reality, risk, and the future of humanity. Michael, it's a great pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So you began with a PhD in physics, then moved into investment banking and quantitative trading. And now you are an entrepreneur in blockchain. Could you share the inner and outer journey behind these transitions? What guided your choices at each stage of your life?
I think it has been pretty much a balance between my interest and survival needs. In a way, I'm very interested in the origin of the universe and how the universe works, and that's why I, went to physics. I did a PhD in physics. Then after I got a PhD, one realistic problem was that there were not so many good physics jobs for PhDs. So I turned to Wall Street to get a job in financial services. So on the other hand, I have to see that nobody can continue doing anything without any passion or without any interest. The Wall Street jobs, sounds a lot different from the physics research, and I have to see that they started just as just jobs, but in a way that they're also aligned with my my inquisition to the laws of the universe. I mean, it's a small part of the universe, but one could see that very often a small part can represent the essence of the whole in many aspects. So I was actually fascinated by the randomness of the market, by the interaction between players and players. In a way that that's like similar to the solid-state physics. You study the interaction between particles, and that's kind of similar to what I've been doing research on. So that way, my interest grew. On the other hand, in 2018, I kind of noticed I actually in the 2017 and end of 2017 and beginning of 2018, I noticed the development of the blockchain technology, which is namely actually Bitcoin at that time. So I'm kind of quite interested, and I think it's like it also represents from the trading perspective, it represents very high volatility that for trader we can see a lot of opportunities. On the other hand, the so-called decentralization concept might represent some of the future paths. So that's why I'm kind of got very interested in that. And I started, focus more and more on the, blockchain-related trading and blockchain technology-related applications. So, yeah, that's pretty much like, why I choose to do these things and what guided me. And it's pretty much, as I mentioned in the start, so it's pretty much a balance between my interest and the survival needs.
Great. Yeah, it's very fascinating to hear your story, that you're driven by the curiosity for our universe. Since you talked about blockchain, where do you think we truly are today in the development of blockchain technology? Beyond the hype and bubbles, what feels meaningful or transformational for you? And what still needs to mature in your view?
I think, at this moment, the potential of the blockchain is kind of, more and more clear is at the moment. So, it's like, I think there are many stages in the development. If you look at the history of the, the blockchain developments, at the start, we see the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is like pretty much, at the start, most people consider it a Ponzi scheme, basically at the, so you see actually it works, helping the Ponzi scheme actually. It's like it works among the pyramid scheme communities, mainly in China at the start. And that's how the Bitcoin price goes up. So basically, it actually works as a start as a tool for the pyramid schemes. And then it's like in 2017 and 2018, the main development is the appearance of Ethereum. So Ethereum actually gave the opportunity for people to issue tokens freely. And at that time, there are two different, you could see there are two different mentalities. One mentality is that, some people consider that the concept of the decentralization can be applied to many different things, and that is kind of like a potential, like the future organizations of laborers and future organizations of intelligence and a lot of things. People got that kind of view. On the other hand, the pyramid scheme community, they found it's actually a convenient tool. It's actually more convenient than Bitcoin for them to do the pyramid schemes. So that's why, like in 2018 and mainly in 2017 and 2018, we see a very big boom of the blockchain, all the blockchain stuff. And then a similar story happens in 2020 when DeFi appears. So the DeFi appears, that will later expands to NFT, expands to all the meme coins, and then like that's kind of few waves. But on the other hand, we have passed that stage. It has been many years. So what I can see is it has become clear that the true application of the blockchain. There are two major things. Looks like it's not going to die. One thing is payment. The payment actually, Bitcoin was created originally for the purpose of payment, but now it's not really. Bitcoin doesn't really serve the payment purpose. It's mainly a way to a way as a wealth storage. Bitcoin is pretty much like a wealth storage. The payment function is mainly taken over by the stable coins like the USDT or the USDC, and it has become very apparent that that is going to become like the mainstream payment methodology for the future, and it's very difficult for anyone to kill it. And on the other hand, it's gonna expand. I think expand. Like means that it's not just like the USDT or USDC, which is backed by US dollar. We should also anticipate something like, for example, the gold coin. If some actually Tether has already started issuing this XAUT, which is backed by gold. We haven't seen any gold standard for many years, but this could be the start of gold standard. And on the other hand, I'm pretty sure, the XAUT is not going to be the only gold coin. We should be able to see many others that has different aspects with different scenario for applications. So that is for the payment. I believe, the payment is actually has become like one of the most important use cases for blockchain, and it's going to survive for the future. Yeah, the other thing is actually, arguably, it's in the gray area. I would see like, a way of gambling. So when we see gambling, it's not just like the Macau casino type of gambling. We talk about, collecting money, or we talk about like crowdfunding from randomness. That's pretty much like a financial market. In a way that, financial market is a lot like gambling, but it's got much larger than gambling. So why is that? In a way that is like people believe that you can make money from your research, and in a way that like you can make money from randomness based on your research. So with that kind of mentality, actually the market can attract a lot more money than just Macau casino type of setup. The blockchain actually, by token issuance, actually just offered a much more convenient setup than the traditional financial market. So now, of course, like all this token market has been much smaller than the traditional stock market or futures market or commodity market. In my view, from how active and from how fast it expands, it would be reasonable to predict that that's going to be the future for the financial market. And it's not going to only be the financial market; it can also be expanded to many different things that we are not able to imagine at the moment. For example, like poly market. Poly market just makes this kind of prediction of market. It's like you can offer the price for predicting like Donald Trump become president before the election, and you can offer a price that predicting that he's not going to become the president before the election. So it pretty much, modifies almost anything into a market setup. And that is what I mentioned, like about the expansion of the market. The financial market is probably not just like the stock market or the futures market. It can be much more, with the blockchain setup. So that is the second thing, I just mentioned that I see it's not going to be killed and it's going to expand. So that is, using blockchain as a method of gambling or as a method of market. These two things, in my view, like the true value of a blockchain. On the other hand, could the blockchain have any other value? I would see that, we would have some imagination, but the fact has proven that other than the two things I just mentioned, the value has been very limited. People have been, kind of imagining a lot of more applications for the blockchain. But so far, they have not realized. And so far, actually, they have more or less become like tools from, buying the pyramid scheme communities, to just, with concept to collect the money from the public. So I would say, for any other applications of the blockchain, I would be very cautious. Especially, like everything, that hasn't been realized, I would be very cautious. But the two things I just mentioned, I would see, they are not going to be killed and they're bound to expand.
Let me sit on these ideas for a while because that's very different from the so-called mainstream perceptions. Because I think for people who are in the Web3 community, of course, they all want their Bitcoins, Ethereums, and altcoins to preserve their value and continue to grow so they can preserve their wealth and also continue their activities. And for people outside of Web3 communities, and they just have this impression that Web3 technology is like something that they may not understand, but they think that it is still booming. And even until today, I think a lot of major institutions, they bet on Bitcoin. So the moment when you said that you think Bitcoin might die, I think that's going to be pretty shocking for a lot of people.
Well, I'm not saying Bitcoin is going to die.
Okay.
From my feeling, Bitcoin is becoming a traditional asset. It's not gonna die easily, but it's not gonna like boom like what we have seen like a long time ago. Like in the past 10 years. I mean, the reason is quite simple. It's like people kind of consider Bitcoin, to be like digital gold, so-called digital gold. People kind of, like use the total market value of gold as a benchmark for Bitcoin, saying like if Bitcoin, the total market value of Bitcoin is equal to the total market value of gold, then you would see like $1 million, like more than $1 million per coin for Bitcoin. On one side, that's only like even Bitcoin goes to $1 million per coin. That's only just 10 times the increase. On the other hand, why Bitcoin will become gold? That is actually not a very straightforward like scenario. There could be, I mean, people could see that like, if like people kind of spend, everyone spend like 1% of their asset net worth to buy Bitcoin, then that's kind of how much money and Bitcoin price would be how high. But, I think, that's kind of still a long way to go. And at this time, it's not that obvious. It's going to be definitely realized.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned gold-backed coins, like gold coins. I think this is the first time I heard about it. So do you think that will replace Bitcoin? in some way, or that would be a safer investment?
I mean, everything is possible, but the thing is, like, I mean, eventually, it's very difficult, for us to predict every detail for the future. In a way that, people kind of, the digital currency idea is that, like people kind of worry that, all these fiat currencies, because the governments are printing a lot of money, so eventually the value will, go to zero. And how do you hedge from that? One way, of course, is the Bitcoin is actually introduces, one way to free you from the fiat currency. On the other hand, Bitcoin is not a very good thing for like daily payment. It's like it's kind of like the commission fee is very high. I mean, you just pay for a coffee, and then you found like the commission fee is like 100 times more expensive than the price of the coffee. What's the point? So it's kind of so in that sense, Bitcoin has already left the rule for daily payment. It's mainly just about the concept that it is like gold, so it can preserve the value. But on the other hand, what if someone just issue the gold coin, for example, and the gold coin, by definition, it can also kind of help you to protect you from the government printing money. But on the other hand, with kind of more flexible technologies, you're able to do the daily payment with almost no commission, and then and it also preserves money, and it also preserves value, and it also kind of has very it's easy to use, and it's easier for many people, for the public, to understand. So that's kind of why I feel that that could be just one example. That could be one way that the stablecoin would go. But as I mentioned, we cannot predict every detail of the future. So there could be other directions, and we'll see.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, and also thank you for your honest sharing about the gambling aspect of blockchain that we should all be aware of. Yeah, and also you have been moving through very different fields, and also you're observing blockchain, this new technology, as an entrepreneur. So, from your experience, what are the most challenging aspects of the entrepreneurial journey on a personal level?
On the personal level, the entrepreneur journey, I would say the biggest challenge, of course, is to survive. It's not really something that easy. Many people kind of consider, entrepreneurial to be, something, it's a very good thing. If you look at the survival rate, I mean, I'm not gonna see successful rate. I just see like a survival rate. The survival rate is very, very low. And of course, there's always like a survival bias. People only kind of look at those who survived and feel that it's really kind of very cool. But if you look at these people who has not survived, it's a very big pressure for the entrepreneur, and it's a very big challenge. For me, actually, I would say, I feel the challenge, every day, for an extended period of time, I would, get up and, think about the problem of how to survive. How to survive basically means, how to make your cash flow to, how to balance your cash flow, and then how to expand your customer base. Eventually, it's about, how to make money. It's not easy. And in the field of blockchain, I would say it's also not easy. So in a way that, like many people in the blockchain community, they consider, I would say most people and most projects in the blockchain community, to survive, most people actually use a methodology, use a method, the token issuance as a way to survive. So the problem for that is, pretty much like most so-called projects are not really having any products. The only products, is basically the tokens. They sell the tokens and make money, and pretty much that's it. So we need to evaluate if a project is successful. It's pretty much like if you can successfully sell your tokens. In a way that how do you sell your tokens? So that's kind of why people kind of often feel like, the blockchain community has a lot of overlap with the pyramid, with the pyramid scheme community, because if you consider like your only product is a token, and then you just found all the communities to sell your tokens, and that's pretty much a pyramid scheme. So of course, it's not like all the communities are doing that, but I would see like a large number of projects, like the only products is token is a fact for many projects. So for us, for example, we really want to do something quite differently. We really want to have some products. And you just want to sell to more and more people about your products. But on the other hand, it's the people who can easily accept the concepts of blockchain are not that many, and you would see that is something kind of you feel a bit it's a dilemma that you want to avoid being a pyramid scheme, but you found that like the pyramid scheme people, the pyramid scheme community actually has a very high acceptance rate of the blockchain concepts. So on that, at the end, you have to access these communities. Otherwise, you just go to like, for example, the security companies, the clients, or you just go to the subway station to do your advertisement. You would see a very low conversion rate, and eventually, as the cost of having a customer is going to be so high that cannot afford. So that's kind of as I mentioned, everything is becoming like balancing the ideal and the reality. The reality is you have to survive, and of course you have an ideal, you have an interest. So it's kind of basically balancing the few things. Eventually, for entrepreneur, there's a criteria. If you have done right, the criteria is: are you making money? If you're not making money, basically, when the money runs out, you're kicked out. You cannot really do anything else. So that is the reality. So I think as I mentioned, for entrepreneur, I think the big challenge is to survive, and we can feel the pressure. And I'm good. I'm happy that we have personally for us, we have navigated out. But I can see the survival rate is very, very low, and that is the reality that anyone want to be an entrepreneur has to be aware of.
Yeah, and also what I hear from you is that as an entrepreneur in today's climate, sometimes you're also faced with choices between your value and survival. I think sometimes I also think, is it possible to do something good and contributing to this world and at the same time survive? I think it is possible, but I personally find it very difficult. So I actually admire people who just keep walking their path despite of all these challenges. So I wish you all the best. And also for me, I think that goes to another question on the entrepreneurial journey, is to deal with people. Because in your PhD research, and even in your position as investment banking or trading, you don't have to deal with people so intensively. But I think as an entrepreneur, for instance, for business getting, for sales, for client services, you have to deal with people constantly. Do you find that challenging?
Yeah, that is very challenging, of course. But there are always ways to get over it. So I think for me, the idea is, we have to have some partners. We have some partners, for example, some people who are comfortable dealing with the business development. Some people who are comfortable, doing all this kind of operations, and some people who are comfortable with dealing with all the programmers, the tech people. So eventually, we have to have a good team. A good team means, there has to be, some good people that you can delegate. I can delegate, all the different aspects of the project too. Otherwise, if I just kind of want to deal with, basically with every collaborator, personally, that's bound to fail. I mean, for me, I think I realized that quite early. So we have been having a good team. So that kind of pretty much like solve the problem. For example, like dealing with like investors and dealing with like business collaborators. Nowadays, I just kind of mainly delegate the daily work to partner. Otherwise, if I have to have dinner with all the collaborators, that's gonna be a disaster. I cannot handle it very well. That's that, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of I think have to have good partners. But how to have good partners? That is a different. That's another very long topic. We can talk about later. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Although the fields you have been in are quite different from each other, but there are also a lot of connections. Let's go back to your expertise a little bit. So you studied condensed matter physics. It actually laid foundation for many of the key technologies today, such as semiconductors, lasers, and optical fibers. What emerging technologies are you personally paying attention to today?
I think for new technology, of course, AI is currently the hottest topic. On the other hand, AI pretty much, everyone's talking about it. So let's not talk about it as emerging technology because I would say it's emerged. But developing technology is not emerging. For emerging technology, at this moment, I kind of we're looking at quantum computing. Mm-hmm. I have some friends in this area, and I personally am very interested in the area. And I actually, in my academic years, I also did some research on quantum computing. So I know all the basic concepts and have some idea, how things will be done. So that I think, from my knowledge, many institutions. Like the famous universities and some companies spending a lot of money on this front. So it could be something revolutionary. We'll see, maybe fast, in 5 years, slow, maybe in 10 to 20 years.
Okay, so I have questions on AI and quantum physics, quantum computing for you. Okay, so let's start with AI. So of course, I think every day when you read the news, there's so much excitement and anxiety around AI. What is your attitude towards AI? Do you feel that we should charge ahead or should we be more cautious?
Yeah, I think, that kind of depends on what we consider realistically, I mean, let's see, what we consider this wave of AI would be. Actually, last year, I think I was asking a friend of mine, working in the Google AI. Actually, I was asking him, what do you consider, this wave? I mean, that's almost 2 years ago, actually, not last year, almost 2 years ago. I was kind of asking, what is this wave of AI would evolve to? This LLM thing. I gave him 3 choices. One choice is it's just an interesting app. Like ChatGPT, just an interesting app. You can entertain people, but not really kind of realize anything material. Then the other level is another industrial revolution. So if you see it's an industrial revolution, we're talking about it's in the same level as the invention of steam engine. The invention of a semiconductor and the invention of internet. Basically, we're talking about that kind of level of development. It's a new industrial revolution. That's second level. The third level is AGI. So AGI basically means you're able to create a god. So that's kind of you create something that is really human intelligence, and because it's silicon based, it can scale up a lot. So eventually it's gonna be much better than human. It's pretty much a god. So that is the three levels of the possibility that the AI could be. So for now, when we talk about AI, it's more about the currently when we talk about AI, it's more about this LLM, the large language model related AI. So for that, kind of for now, more and more I'm convinced it should be the second level, the industrial revolution level. So it has been very clear that it's gonna improve the productivity a lot. It's more like the appearance of steam engine or the appearance of internet, and it kind of improves the productivity so much that makes a lot of jobs obsolete. That's going to happen. For example, all these kind of Silicon Valley, they don't really need any entry-level programmer now because of the AI, and it kind of has largely improved the productivity for order of magnitude, for experienced programmers. So that is not just a useful app. It's more like an industrial revolution level of progress. And we should be able to see many other applications, by the AI. But on the other hand, I don't think at this moment, I'm more convinced it's not going to, at least, the AGI is not really a way to reach to be reached by LLM. I have many evidences to support the argument, and I do have many friends also. They share the same opinion, from the AI community. But on the other hand, it's not really accepted by everyone, I would say. Many people still believe that we're going to achieve AGI, in a few years. I mean, if not this year, going to achieve AGI in a few years. So many people believe that. I personally don't believe that, based on many reasons.
Can you give us a couple of reasons? Just a couple.
Yeah, sure. Basically, you would see for example, we can see the newest model of ChatGPT and the newest model of Gemini. They have been training it, toward many benchmarks, for the for example, for doing the International Math Olympiad, for doing a lot of other things. And looks like it's doing better and better. On the other hand, if you just look at the logic, the way of, if you look at the way solving some simple logic problems, it's actually still as bad as 1 or 2 years ago. So that means, even you have increased the computational power for 2 orders of magnitudes, it actually doesn't make the AI more like a human. It doesn't really the AI still has no logic thinking. Basically, what we do is it looks like, for now, it's like a big parrot. It's a big parrot, because it has so good memory. It has so good memory. So it can pretty much, mimic people like a person. But you can find, if you use a logic problem to test it, it's very easy to crack it. So for now, it looks like, which logic problem, we can explain in the future. But I would see we have tested, quite a few times. And it looks like, either it's ChatGPT or it's Gemini. They haven't really progressed, in that kind of aspect, over the past 2 years. So that means, it's not really the LLM. It's not really how human brain works.
It's interesting.
It cannot do many things that the human brain cannot do. On the other hand, that's kind of it can do something the human brain can do much faster, but that's not bad. That is what we invent machines for, right? Of course, you use your calculator. It can calculate a very big number time and multiplied by another big number. It can calculate within instantly. But human brain, you use human brain to calculate that number. It takes a long time, but that doesn't scare you. As far as the AGI is not going to be achieved. I think human doesn't really have to worry about the AI. It's a very powerful tool that human have made, and it's going to help us to achieve a lot of things, and we don't need to worry about it too much. But on the other hand, if AGI can be achieved, that is a very different story. But at this moment, I don't think we need to worry about that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I definitely feel that sometimes people exaggerate what AI can do, as if they know all the answers and they can resolve all the problems. But you pointed out that the so-called logic we see in AI is just purely based on the big memory it has and all the language models, but it does not equal to intelligence.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Just now, you also mentioned quantum computing. I think people have been talking about that for years, and some people even say that with that, um, cryptocurrencies would not be relevant anymore. And also, for many years before AI, people have been associating, talking about quantum physics and associating it with Buddhism and spirituality in general. So I'm just curious to learn from you, what is quantum physics really about, and what is quantum computing, and how are they connected to each other? And do you see any spiritual elements in this?
Sure, yeah. I would say, like, many people consider the spiritual elements with quantum, the connection between the spiritual elements and quantum computing. Uh, most people don't really know about quantum physics. They just kind of heard of like a few fundamental concepts, and they believe that they understand it. And then they can connect these things together. I would say, like that is a little bit dangerous because it's actually against the idea of science. It's kind of mainly from the ancient traditions. That time, in the ancient times, the people are not able to like observe anything in a very precise way. And people are not able to test anything in a precise way, and people are not able to understand anything in a precise way. So that's why people kind of try to to comfort themselves. People try to kind of develop this philosophy that can soothe ourselves using the powerful tool of blurring stuff and comforting ourselves. So that's kind of what I feel is the danger at the moment is many people they kind of connecting something they just vaguely understand, and they consider that is already the ultimate secret of the universe. And very often, it's very distant, from the reality. So for this case, for quantum computing, I believe, of course, everything has a spiritual meaning. But, if you see, consider, that is the ancient laws, the ancient folklores actually, basically, they already kind of reached the idea of quantum computing, reached the idea of quantum physics, and, of the modern physics. I would say, that is a little bit too much. Of course, we could connect a lot of things together. So that's more like we could people kind of connect. For example, some Chinese like ancient Chinese writings like Shanghai Jing, and connect that to the modern finding, or even to the other planets, or even to the aliens. You can connect a lot of different concepts in very interesting ways. But again, I think that is it can be quite fun, but really doesn't really give us too much help in understanding the universe.
Yeah, I see that you think each discipline has its own root and development. So we can't just simplify that, this is like, they're basically the same. Okay, yeah. So could you share more about quantum computing? I don't know whether it is possible to explain that in simple words for us, because I have no idea what that is about, and whether that will change, the technologies around us.
Yeah. So basically, when people talk about quantum computing, of course, it's based on quantum mechanics, based on quantum physics. So the idea is we would be able to establish some kind of computer that is fundamentally different from the computer that we're having now. Namely, there are two algorithms that is the quantum computing actually, if quantum computer is built, there are two algorithms. The quantum computer can do much faster than the traditional computers. And these two algorithms are very important. One algorithm is about searching. Searching, that's like, for example, it's from a database. A database size is n, and you want to search element. Basically, in a traditional computer, you have to search one by one. So if there are n elements, you would expect in average, you would need, 1/2 n to find that, the particular elements you're looking for, right? So that's one over half. That's n over 2. And on the other hand, if you're using the quantum computer, you're able to find the elements within like square root n times. So that is kind of a large acceleration. You can imagine that if the database is huge, for example, it's not so huge. I mean, we just talked about 1 million, for example. So 1 million, if you see 1 million, 1/2 of 1 million is still 500,000. But square root of 1 million is only 1,000. So you basically, you decrease the problem size from 500,000 to 1,000. So that's a huge acceleration. And when the number is larger, the acceleration is even larger. Imagine that if you have 1 trillion, and you pretty much you can decrease the problem size from 1 trillion to 1 million, and that is the 1 million-fold decrease. So that's kind of a big acceleration of the quantum computer. The other algorithm is about like factoring a large number. So factoring a large number, actually, it doesn't only work on factoring a large number. I would say it works on almost, everything that constitutes the modern cryptography. So basically, almost all the cryptography that is supporting the modern world, that not only the cryptocurrency, but also, like all the banks, all the financial institutions, all our financial institution account system are using cryptography, using this basically asymmetric cryptography for the daily operation. And quantum computer pretty much can crack all this. So that is also like, it's also kind of from an algorithm, level of view. It's not just the computer is like can be built larger. It's because, like they can actually make the complexity much lower so that, it becomes easier to solve. That being said, if one quantum computer is built, what other things the quantum computer can do? At this moment, people are still doing research on it. But you can imagine that, only these two things can be already revolutionary, for the modern world. So basically, if someone can make a good enough quantum computer, just one quantum computer, basically, it's gonna bring so much chaos into the modern world. So then you can imagine, that's why, basically the organization of our modern world can be totally changed. So that's kind of, why quantum computer can be so important. And yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So where we are in developing this quantum computer and what other elements we need to achieve that?
Yeah, I think, from my understanding, actually, it has been, all these algorithms has been out for many years. I think the Shor's algorithm, which cracks the cryptography, it was actually discovered in 1994. And the Grok algorithm, which is like I just mentioned, this algorithm that can search to do the database search very fast. So that algorithm actually was discovered in 1996. So, both have been discovered for many years, like 30 years already. But on the other hand, so then people know that it's important to build a quantum computer, but it's not being, a usable quantum computer has not been built yet. The main reason is because, you need a lot of so-called qubits, quantum bits, in the quantum computer, to make it useful. On the other hand, that's not very easy. So in physics, there are when two particles, they're so-called entangled, and so it's basically the two particles you would see in a connected quantum state. It's very easy for the quantum connection to get lost. So how to maintain the quantum connection and how to build a large enough system with many particles, with many quantum entangled quantum entangled particles that you can do quantum computing. That has been quite challenging. And I would say, that's more a problem in physics and a problem in material science. So without a breakthrough on the physics level, it's very difficult to have a real quantum computer that can do the stuff I just mentioned. But on the other hand, I was told that I'm not in the research front at the moment, but I was told that there has been a lot of progress on the physics front. Some people optimistic feel that they would see like some kind of quantum computer that can be used to crack the cryptography in Bitcoin maybe in 5 to 10 years. And I'm not exactly sure, if that can be fulfilled, really can be fulfilled. But that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's also fascinating to learn that how these different subjects and industries are all interrelated. So if we step back and look at the bigger picture, do you think technology is making humans more conscious or more distracted? As technology continues to accelerate, what do you feel is at the stake for humanity?
I think, if you look at all the technology from Industrial Revolution, it's pretty certain that technology has made humans happier and has made, of course, people could come up with all different theories saying that, human would be kind of happier, when we have no technology, but we have like a better connection with the nature or whatsoever. But that I think that is some hard criteria we have to notice. The human infant fatal rate has been very low now, has been lower than 1%. And the human life expectancy, expected life has been much longer compared with the pre-industrial revolution level. And we can see that kind of number actually improves over the years. So that's no, if you look at our life quality, I mean, currently a normal middle life person probably has a much better life quality than like a few hundred years, an emperor a few hundred years. So in a way that, there's no deny technology has made our lives happier and easier. And on the other hand, make us suffer less because, we use the machines to do a lot of stuff for us. But of course, there are always fear that technology is gonna it's gonna be make us worse. I think that worry actually started when the Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution, already kind of people worry about that, and but so far we haven't seen it's a real thing. Of course, the newest worry is about the AGI. Basically, it's like if a human can create a god that can eventually replace human, eventually eliminate human, that could be a real danger. I think it could be, but at least not at the moment. Something we need to worry about at the moment, I think.
But with the new technologies, do you feel that human activities are mainly too much in the head? That we may become more mentally and emotionally challenged. More people get depressed, for instance.
I'm not sure actually if really more people get depressed because we don't really have the again I mean if we don't want to consider a problem vaguely, we want to support it precisely with some data. Basically, we don't really have the data of depression from the ancient times. We don't know how many people got depressed in the ancient times, and we don't know how many people got depressed, for example, after 40 years in ancient after 40 years old. In the ancient time, many people don't live to 40 years old. So I think it's difficult to really make a comparison at the moment, saying technology causes depression. So I mean there would be more research for the future, but at the moment, I think it's difficult to see that.
That's a very interesting point. Maybe all the great literature were written by depressed people.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Michael. It's been wonderful exploring these ideas together. I really appreciate the openness and depth you brought to this conversation. Thank you for listening to Buddhaland podcast. Wherever you are in the world, I'm grateful that you showed up. Until next time.